David, I'll start with you. That jump in expenses for Wells Fargo that Wilf was just referencing, your thoughts?
Sure. So we've known that operating expenses were going to remain high for Wells Fargo. However, I didn't expect them to be this high. Regulatory issues continue to weigh on the company, and with new CEO Charlie Scharf coming in, he's taken a focus here on improving the relations with regulators. And the first step is fixing the foundation of the bank, which is getting the relations with regulators right and getting set. And what we've seen recently is, from an IT perspective, it looks like there's some headwinds there. So going forward, our concern here is that expenses remain higher for a longer period of time than what some bullish investors were hoping for.
Yeah, he's got quite the to-do list in terms of turning things around at Wells Fargo. How quickly does he need to execute? What is Wall Street, what do analysts like yourself, I guess, give him in terms of a timeline here?
Sure. Well, he's only been in the seat for 3 months. It takes a lot of time to figure it out. It's a almost a $2 trillion bank. So there's a lot to go over. The bank has made some progress. They've gone through over the last 2 years and added 18,000 people in IT and compliance. However, during that same time period, they've also lost people, revenue producers, which hurts the fundamentals of the company. So unfortunately, as they're working through these IT issues, it's going to still be a while before the fundamentals improve. To put an exact time frame on it is a bit challenging, but looking out to 2020 and the rest of this year and 2021, I do think that the street expectations need to be reined in from an earnings perspective, and to really, like I said, have them fix the foundation here.
Yeah, Mike, the Dow is hanging on to gains, albeit just slightly right now, thanks to JP Morgan and that 2.5% jump in the stock. Financial is the only sector in the green, and the S&P as well. The numbers we got from JP Morgan and Citi, how much can we glean from those for the broader bank sector?
I think you could say no big negative surprises without a doubt. This is a very steady group, so the steadiness is what really I think you come away with the exception of Wells Fargo. Citigroup is interesting because it's been more of a kind of capital reallocation, balance sheet story, buying back lots of stock at very cheap valuations. JP Morgan's premium over the rest of the group has really grown. It's been kind of the indispensable financial holding. If you look at the way all sectors are trading right now, the market wants to anoint a very small group of winners, pay a tremendous premium for that winner, and the rest of them just figure it out on their own. So I think it's good numbers. Obviously, the consumer is strong. If you can extrapolate what the public corporate debt markets are implying about creditworthiness of companies based on how debt trades, then these guys have not much to worry about in terms of credit problems for the foreseeable future. I don't think it becomes an exciting story, but it becomes a fairly secure and predictable type earnings path.
Yeah, and David, we saw that reflected what Mike's saying in terms of charge-offs, so loan loss reserves. But back to this idea of expenses at Wells Fargo, Charlie Scharf, who a lot of people have faith in, would not put a specific timeline out there either in terms of when they will be able to increase their rate of growth and when they will be able to actually get the cost structure in line. What's your thoughts in terms of what investors are willing to accept from him?
Yeah, so it's tough to see when like you said, the time frame will come to fruition here. My biggest concern here is on the revenue front. Anecdotally, I'll tell you that they are still losing producers, which is going to extend out the time frame until they can become profitable. As I said earlier, they've hired 18,000 people in IT and compliance, but their headcount has been flat because of the producers they've lost. So from a profitability perspective, you need to get that revenue side fixed. And because the brand has been tainted here, it's a bit of a challenge for them to recruit top talent. And they continue to, like I said, bleed some of their revenue-generating bankers.
Mike, obviously the big banks excluded here, perhaps, but financials overall more broadly, we've seen a fair amount of deal-making, consolidation. I mean, even Visa just paying, $6 billion for Plaid last night. What is the expectation around more consolidating in the sector, and especially if you're starting to talk about maybe brokerages and banks?
Yeah, I mean, the ingredients are there. I think the problem is the really big banks don't have a lot of room to do much of anything in terms of horizontal mergers. So it's a matter of, we saw this one big regional deal, right? BB&T merging with SunTrust. doesn't seem like a tremendous appetite to really complicate the picture by going for more of those. But the Visa Plaid deal, I think, points up a bigger picture issue with the industry, which is, are the traditional banks just relegated to the boring parts of financial services? Do they have to do something bold and kind of disrupt themselves? I think the bet on JP Morgan is that they have the wherewithal to do so.
David, I want to get your thoughts on this too, not only in terms of consolidation within the sector, but also when you have a company like Wells Fargo, and I realize it's got a whole lot to deal with right now, but they're also behind the ball, arguably, on technology. Does this make that company more likely to go out and see what's possible in the fintech space?
Sure. Yeah, I don't expect Wells Fargo to make any moves in the acquisition front. They have to figure this out themselves. Like I said, they've added a lot of people, both the day-to-day worker bees, if you will, as well as at the top. Charlie Scharf has already brought in a couple chiefs of different business lines in IT. So I think this is something they need to get past on their own. I think that's Charlie's first mandate that he needs to get through here.